What's going on, everybody? It's Phil Ranta here with another 5 questions. I'm so sorry. I know I'm supposed to be doing these on Friday, but Friday got a little crazy for me, so I'm doing a special Monday edition. As you can see behind me, that's Santa Monica back there. It is pouring outside. It's absolutely raining like crazy. So hold on, let me just bring my comments up here. So yeah, you get to enjoy a little bit of rain while I answer some of your top social media questions. We had a lot of good ones this week, so thank you so much for everybody that wrote in for social media questions. What's going on, Katerina? How you doing? If you got any questions for me that you want addressed over this broadcast or for a future one, let me know. I'm here to answer your questions, so cool, let's get into it. So question number 1, which is one that I get a lot, naturally working at Mob Crush, I have a lot of people who are interested in game streaming. So the first question I got is, it's impossible to get discovered on Twitch. How do you start getting followers? So a lot of people that I work with were previously on YouTube. Hey, Lindsay Burt, what's going on? They were previously on YouTube. Then when you go over to the Twitch, you know, they had problems building audience the same way because there's a very special difference between the two that's super, super, super important. So on YouTube, a lot of discovery happens through subscribers, through search, and through surfing, right? So subscribers means people who subscribe will find you, you're on their homepage, they're in the feed, etc. What's going on, Richard Little? How you doing? Search is exactly what it sounds like, right? I search like, how do you tie a bow tie? And then the top videos show up that have the most relevancy. And then most importantly is people surfing around. And I know that you feel that because when you go on YouTube, if you're like me, you click on one video, you see another really interesting thumbnail, you click on that, and then before you know it, it's 3 hours later and you don't know what happened to your day, right? So Twitch is a little bit different in that when you go on Twitch, you don't type in like best Fortnite videos, right? You click on Fortnite and then you see a scroll. Not only that, but you see a scroll where it just shows the top video and then the second most, then the third most, so it's all the top most watched ones. What's going on, Brian Brown? So it's a little harder to break through on Twitch because if you're small, you're showing all the way up at the bottom of the screen. And if you're big, you show all the way up at the top, and it's really hard to get discovered. So there's a couple things that you can do to be discovered on Twitch. One is make sure you've built out your social media cycle. And what I mean by that is start getting your audience used to converting from other platforms. So if you're on Twitter and you've got a big audience on Twitter, make sure to say, hey, I'm going live on Twitch in 10 minutes. Here's my link. Hey, I'm going live on Twitch in 5 minutes. Here's my link, right? On YouTube, start pushing people over. Start pushing them to subscribe and follow, right? And then the other important thing to do on Twitch is you don't really have thumbnails in the same way as YouTube, right? Like it's generally just a screen grab of what the image is, right? But the same idea applies, which is when people are scrolling through a feed, they want you want them to see your thumbnail and title, stop, and then click. So if you can do something really visually interesting in the way that your frame is set up, if you can have a really it's important to have a really good title, right? Like if you just say, I'm playing Fortnite, come hang with me, there's not a lot of value there. But if you're like, trying to get 100 kills in 1 hour, see if I can do it, right? You're actually asking a question that you're hoping to get answered. So the best way to start on Twitch is grow yourself on other platforms, then push people over because Twitch is terrible at discovery. And make sure your stage picture and your title warrant people actually clicking in. Really, really think hard about what's stopping them from scrolling. So question number 2. So This is a tricky one, but I'm going to go for it. So Logan Paul has appeared to rebrand to make controversy a trend, recently speaking at a Flat Earth conference, saying he wanted to try being gay for 1 month, which I just saw that he apologized for. What's his strategy? So a lot of people look at Logan Paul and say he's seems to be aggressively self-destructing with his career, and yet his views keep going up, right? Is that a strategy I should take? Should I go out offending people? Should I go to a suicide forest and get a bunch of articles written for me? There's 2 ways of looking at this, right? One is if your goal is to just get views, and that's all you care about is as many views as possible, get in front of as many people as possible. Controversy can be a really good thing, right? So if Logan Paul's essentially optimizing for that already, right? It's that quick endorphin hit. Like, I'll do a boxing match, I'll make some quick money. Nobody's paying attention to me now, so I'll go speak at a Flat Earth thing. I'll make headlines, right? So it's just constantly having that drumbeat of pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, right? But like anything else where you're begging for people's attention, it is a short-term play. And that's that every time he has that controversy coming out, it's hurting his ability to secure brands in the marketplace, or at least the brands that can really move the needle for him financially. It's hurting his relationship with the platform, right? When he says stuff like that, YouTube is not going to send his ad sales team out and say, go buy Logan Paul, because they're afraid that they're going to get in trouble for it next time. And possibly most importantly, to the fan community, being a Logan Paul fan now means something, and it's not something valuable anymore. So if you want to have a career 10, 15 years from now, this is not how you do it, right? The way that you do it is by taking acting lessons and going out and doing that. Write a script, right? Have a positive message out into the world. That's how you become somebody who can withstand the test of time. What I would recommend if I could have a getting real moment with Logan Paul's team is, you've got national attention. You can have any sort of message be a message that breaks through. So why not craft a valuable message for yourself, right? Instead of speaking at a flat earth conference, why not go raise $1 million for an animal charity and say that you have 1,000 dogs adopted, right? They'll both get press. They'll both grow your fan base, but one is growing a really positive, long-lasting fan base, and another one is getting you known as a troll, right? Which is not valuable in the long run. You never see those people surviving. So my recommendation to him is, not that I'm saying that his team is not effective right now, but I don't know if his team is getting through to him, if they are. Or, worse yet, he's got a team that's yes men, right? Which is actually very common in the digital space because people are so afraid of losing their clients that they'll just say yes to everything and then they'll get in trouble, right? They're just trafficking deals. But a really good manager will control the career and make sure that he's building something for the long term. So it's Logan Paul. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask about Logan Paul. But recommendation, don't just optimize for clicks. It's a very short-term play. So, question number 3. Virtual reality has been hanging out in the fringes of the industry for years, but hasn't broken through. Are you a believer? So, virtual reality. Hey, Bryony Badge, thank you so much for following. I appreciate it, man. Virtual reality is... for those of you who don't know how virtual reality has kind of progressed, is over the past maybe 3 years, there's been a lot of people investing millions and millions of dollars into these upstart virtual reality companies with the plan of once HTC Vive and Oculus and all of that stuff gets really popular and people start buying the headsets, there's going to be this huge amount of industry. Everybody's going to go home from work and they're going to put on virtual reality headsets and they're just going to watch their own TV and interact in virtual reality. There's a couple reasons why I think and have always thought that can't be true. One is when people watch TV when they get home from work with their family, it's an inherently social medium, right? Even if you're staring at your phone and you're doing that and you're not really watching the TV, the fact that you're just in the presence of other people has value. And I'm sure that you feel, I get home and I watch, like sometimes I'll get home from work and I'll go play video games. My wife will read. She's an author, so she's a reader. I work at MobCrush, so I'm a video game player, right? But even though she's doing something and I'm doing something, we still are aware that we occupy the same space and we're still able to communicate with each other. Once you're in VR, that's gone, right? You are in essentially a box where you cannot hear or see what's going on in the room around you. So it makes it really tough to replace the television. Where it can find a lot of value is when you're in spaces where it's okay to be alone and you don't care about what's going on around you. So teenagers who are gaming in their room, if you're at a movie theater and it's a 10-minute experience and like you go see the Avengers movie, now here's the Avengers VR experience. And you're in a protected environment where you can do something really interesting and next level. In the real world, that's where VR exists in the space. All of the investors that were throwing big money behind VR expecting an inflection point 2 years ago really don't understand digital audiences, right? They said, oh, this is a new technology. It's really interesting to be in VR, which it is. So let's throw millions of dollars and we'll get millions of dollars back. What they didn't realize is having a high-powered computer, a $400 headset that has to be tethered, and most importantly, blocking out everything around you when you're in VR, that's a lot to ask of somebody, right? So I will say that I feel like I'm a believer in VR in certain cases. So VR in amusement park rides, in kind of premium pay-as-you-go experiences, in situations where, education, hospital applications where people are bedridden and they, have that on, arcades. There's a lot of places where VR can exist. In terms of do I believe that there's going to be a 20% saturation rate of people going home from work and instead of turning on their PlayStation 4, putting on a VR headset? I just don't see it. I think that AR could occupy that space, right? If you have augmented reality where you put on goggles and you can see what's around you, and then you can also have gaming applications or an overlay on reality, absolutely. And the reason why I know that is because cell phones work, right? And what cell phones but something that takes up part of your vision where you're playing game but you can still experience reality? That's really interesting to me. But yeah, in terms of VR, I wouldn't expect a huge money industry in anything but kind of B2B or enterprise level solutions for now. And of course, with Oculus releasing new stuff and social strategies, I might be eating my words on that, but I think AR is going to rise before that, and all VR companies are eventually going to move over to AR or B2B applications. So. Question number 4. I get this a lot because I come from the comedy community in Los Angeles, but someone asked, I'm an improv comedian in Los Angeles. I have no social following. Where do I start? So this is a big question because a lot of times, like, you hear a lot of stories in the comedy world where, hey, Donna Kay, how's it going? You hear a lot of people say, I'm a comedian, I'm out selling out shows, or I'm middling, or I'm opening for other big comedy acts. Or I hear about people like Rob Delaney getting, TV deals based on a Twitter feed. I'm writing 10 jokes a day on Twitter. I'm not breaking through. What's the problem? Do I need to readjust my strategy? The answer, of course, is yes. But the important thing is not to let social media take over your life and to do it strategically and do it in a way that works towards your goals. So if your goal is to be a comedian, like get on Saturday Night Live, for example, there's a couple things that you want to do. First of all, more so than just writing text, what's really algorithmically preferred, which means it shows up to more followers more often, is video. So if you have a way to be able to produce video efficiently that shows off your talents, that is highly shareable and snackable, like something where people get the joke of it right away and it's very of the moment and something people will share, amazing. So some of those include like ripped from the headlines, politics, social stuff, things about celebrity news, or something that speaks to kind of a larger zeitgeisty thing, like what BuzzFeed does, where like jokes about hipsters, jokes, those kind of things are things people will share because they'll say that represents something that I believe. You're making a really funny commentary on it, so I'll share it around. Or just something that's like quick and snackable and funny. Like Laura Cleary is awesome at that. If you haven't checked out her Facebook page, check it out. It's amazing. But she's somebody who can have a joke that you can jump on right away, get it, it's immediately funny, so people will share it out, right? Because it's just kind of those bursts of joy. So look into that. Also, even more so, and it's not because I work for a live video company, but right now live video is the most algorithmically preferred type of content online. So if you have a way to do like a funny 10-minute show a day, you can, in 10 minutes, you can make 10 minutes of content, put some format around it. Like this one, for example, my format is 5 social media questions I get asked over the week, right? That help people grow on digital. As a comedian, think about things that you might do, like maybe 5 jokes about the headlines, right? Hey, Donna, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. That's awesome. But yeah, if you have other kind of short, snackable things you can do every day, or like I'm reading the newspaper, here's some jokes, or here's some thoughts about it. Or if you're more of a character-based comedian, maybe you could do like one character that you do every day where they're like commenting on what's happening. There's... who is that? Oh, Randy Rainbow. If you've watched his stuff, it's somebody who's kind of like a musical theater comedian who does parody songs and then put them on Facebook. Highly, highly shareable, ripped from the headline stuff. Knowing your audience, the audience you're going to grow is really valuable. So yeah, my suggestion is keep it consistent. Make sure that you're making content that can kind of break through a little bit more, and just keep doing it, right? If you do 3 videos and nobody's watching, you haven't done enough videos, right? You've got to keep growing your fan base little by little, and eventually, hopefully, you'll have something that catches on, and then you'll blow up. So Question number 5, and again, if you have any questions for next week or you want me to answer on this one that has to do with social media or social video, let me know now. But the last one, what is the future of kids and family content on YouTube now a year after ElsaGate? Where else are kid creators succeeding? So last year there was a bit of controversy around content made for very young kids on YouTube. So a lot of people were making videos where there was people dressed as Spider-Man, people dressed as Elsa, like really recognizable characters in the kids space. And they were kind of costuming it up, and it wasn't sponsored by Disney or Marvel. And they did like adventures that were like silent adventures, so they did it internationally. But some people took that format and started doing really gross stuff, like pregnant Elsa and graphically showing the baby being born, or people chopping each other's heads off. And because there were little kids watching, they would then click because it had Elsa, and then there would be really kind of sick, demented stuff happening inside of it. And these videos got really popular, but then a lot of brands went, whoa, I'm running my ads before this really gross content. And then they kind of shut off that entire industry. So YouTube just killed all of those channels. That was about a year ago. So the question is, where else are kids creators succeeding now that that's gone? So once those videos went away, kid audiences were still going on YouTube a lot, but they kind of shifted where their focus was. So what's always worked on YouTube is toy unboxings, especially with kids, and they've been kind of around since early YouTube. Like for anybody who was watching like RR Cherry Pie, which was a Japanese channel very early on YouTube that was getting hundreds of millions of views, that stuff still works, which is like close up on the hands, opening something very satisfying, or showing a kid like Ryan's toy review opening presents. That works wonderfully. There's still a lot of action happening in like the nursery rhyme space. Like if you can be the #1 Twinkle Twinkle Little Star channel, people will keep searching that and showing it to their kids, and kids will keep watching that over and over again. That's really, really valuable as well. And as evidenced by Little Baby Bum, which is one of the top channels in that, I think they just raised like $135 million because they're so big on YouTube. And a lot of that is like Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round, like Johnny, Yes Papa. Like it's the same nursery rhymes that you've been hearing your entire life that have been around since the 1800s. They just kind of own that space on YouTube. So that stuff will continue to be popular. I think that one thing that has kind of grown out of the Elsa stuff, but isn't quite there, isn't quite the same kind of weirdness, is how do you use those popular bits of kids' IP, but do it in a really safe context? So Paw Patrol unboxings, or nursery rhymes that features the faces of Elsa and Spider-Man, but are just nursery rhymes, or, like kids dressed up in certain costumes and having adventures, but it's kids and they're just having fun. So also focus on international, right? A lot of the biggest kids channels on YouTube are not based in the United States, and there's a reason for that, because kids like visual and bright colors, and they don't necessarily need somebody in English saying, hey, thanks for watching, hey kids. You can have an adventure that's more about like showing the making of slime, right? So if you want to make it in the kids space, focus on kind of those more bright, colorful, satisfying on a more primal level, I guess, like making slime and hearing it squish. That's valuable to kids, right? Or what I would prefer even more is look to Sesame Street, look to Schoolhouse Rock, and start building something that's really valuable, right? If you build something like that works on a level of like you're educating kids while they're having fun, you're going to find yourself building a more valuable brand that might last a longer time. So that's the 5 questions. We've got one more from Katarina Schwab, which we appreciate. I have a question for branded content. I noticed there hasn't been much movement since IGTV was released. What do you think of the future of IGTV and IGTV influencers for monetization? Cool. I love this question. So Instagram TV launched a little while back. I think it was around VidCon last year. So it's been 9 months maybe that Instagram TV has been around. And all it is like an Instagram branded short form a la Vine kind of product. It stands alone from Instagram, but it ties into the Instagram video product. And it was really poorly thought out and launched, which is not my opinion alone. It's everybody in the digital industry knows that that was a bobbled launch. The reason why is, what was the biggest thing on Instagram at the moment? Instagram stories. And instead what they did was they took a step back and went, oh, we're going to do short form television that's like non-ephemeral and is actual video clips, and we're going to try to own that space. That's just not where Instagram was, right? Also, my biggest problem with IGTV is it's just so poorly curated. So when I popped into it the first time and I went into the recommended videos, they were showing me beauty tutorials. They were showing me like people I've never heard of, or I'm not a big sports guy. They were showing me like athletes vlogging. They have all of this information on me, and they weren't using any of it to curate valuable content for me. They were just showing me whatever was popular, right? Which is a huge, huge miss. So like any platform, if somebody can actually grow real provable viewership behind it, it'll be valuable to brands, right? But because so few people are accessing IGTV as a standalone in relation to Instagram proper, I see no reason why people should be optimizing for IGTV when Stories is doing such a great job, right? If you're making like short form comedy, one take stuff, why not put it on Stories, right? Your conversion rate's going to be higher. You're probably going to get more viewership on it. It's still an Instagram platform, so you're getting a similar audience. And if you want to focus on the short form premium video space, sure, do Instagram TV. But like, when you're going on a smaller platform, there's two reasons to do it. One is you want to be a big fish in a small pond, which there's a strategy there, right? For example, I'm really bullish on Mixer right now. Mixer is way smaller than Twitch, right? But Twitch is bigger, but it's harder to be discovered because there's so many people on it. Mixer is smaller, so it's easier to be discovered. So if you're an upstart, you can grow on Mixer faster to get like those first 1,000 subscribers. But to get the next 10,000, it might be harder because there's just not the same level of saturation. So acknowledge that you're doing it to be a big fish in a small pond. But also you should do it just because the format of your content fits that better. If you're making short form lifestyle content, sure, right? Go on Instagram TV. But in lieu of that, might not be the smartest move right now. Keep an eye on it like you keep an eye. I mean, I keep an eye on Vero, right? I keep an eye on all of the social media platforms just to see if there's... What a lot of people do in kind of the growth hacking space is they're constantly like checking the walls to see if there's vulnerabilities where you can grow really fast. And if there is, then you lean into it and you blow up. So just a heads up, your privacy settings do not allow sharing to a page. Oh my gosh, I'll have to reset that. Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. Ugh, I put myself out as a social media expert and I don't even share with those privacy settings. Thank you for pointing that out. But yeah, you definitely want to keep checking back in Instagram TV and see if you can like occupy a space that'll help you grow. But don't say, okay, I've got time to support 3 platforms and one of them has to be Instagram TV because I'm a female lifestyle influencer. It just doesn't make as much sense. So cool. Those are the questions that I got for today. So thank you so much for tuning in to 5 questions. If you have any questions you want me to address this Friday for my 5 question stream, let me know. You can find me on all social platforms at Phil Ranta. Good to hit me up on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Phil Ranta. Or you can just comment on this video below, and I'll make sure to address your questions as they come in. So another rainy day in Santa Monica. Hopefully the weather clears up. But until next time, thank you so much for checking us out.